Hey, let's talk about games.
Hello my friend, welcome back. It's Airsick Hydra here. Today I'm going to be reviewing and talking through TTCombat's Hive MDF scenery. Now this is one package of £40 scenery that I ordered last week. Hopefully you caught that last video I did where we compared all the different Necromunda scenery. What I'm doing here is I'm going to be reviewing my purchase. As promised, I gone and got myself a little bit of the TTCombat scenery because I love the look of it. Now this is the first time I've ever put my hands on MDF scenery. I'm hoping this will be a fairly comprehensive review for anyone that's curious about buying from them, from just buying MDF scenery full stop. I just want to talk you through my experiences. Now just before we open this package here, two things to say first. One of which I've asked 5 questions of this company I've asked 5 questions of this company when I first approached them, just about their terrain, about their scenery. Every single question was answered within 24 hours, which to me says the company has pretty good customer care support, etc. I don't think if I had any problems that I'd be waiting too long for a fix, so that's always a good start. This item was ordered last week. It took 2 days to ship and it arrived the next day, which I think was fairly lucky. It's normally, I think, 2 to 5 days free delivery, which I was very, very pleased to see. Free delivery is always nice when you don't have any added bonus expenditure onto your order. So I've already gone ahead and removed the tape just to save us a little bit of time. We'll open this up and see how it's packaged, because that is important too. We've got a lovely sounding free blow-up wrist support here for anyone suffering from an RSI. We've got loads of Cheetos. We'll get rid of these. We'll get them out. Girlfriend's going to kill me, but it's fun. Right, we're going to get this out of the box and have a look. This sounds awesome, doesn't it? Squeak, squeak. Right, get that down there. Get that down there. So, packaged hella securely. I've seen some complaints for MDF scenery before. This is smothered in about 3 layers of bubble wrap, and that's not getting hurt unless someone is really abusive with this package. So it looks good. I'm going to use a small carving tool just to get this open. A little bit of ASMR with Hydra here, stimulating your orderly senses. Maybe I'll fast forward through this bit. It does sound nice though, doesn't it? Very, very satisfying. So we'll start to unravel it, and now hopefully I'll start answering some of the questions you guys might have about MDF scenery, because as I say, this is the first I've ever touched, first I've ever held. If I eventually unwrap it, I think they've wrapped it up. You've got enough bubble wrap here. Right, okay, so nice. Wow, we've got I don't know if everyone gets this, but we've got a pretty substantial looking package here with a hell of a lot of stuff in it. Presumably this is, they did mention they might throw a little thank you into me for doing some stuff for them, for doing the terrain review the way I did. They liked it, so they just threw this in. So that may be from them, I have no idea. I'm going to focus on the scenery today, but thank you very much if that was a free little thank you gift. Very, very kind of you. Industrial Hive, that's what I purchased, Sector 2, it looks pretty good. Now this isn't going to be a full assembly, but I'm going to be showing you through the parts what I can tell of the quality of the parts. Again, this is the first time I've put hands on such scenery. I'm going to be doing an assembly video separately because I'm going to be painting as I assemble, and that's really not within the scope of all doing within one video. So let's first have a little look here, see what we got. So actual packaging here, good enough. It's holding it all together, like it's already caked in bubble wrap. You can't really ask for much more than that now. A little bit of paper. We have no instructions, but that's okay. Let's see what we've got on the next bit of paper. Are there instructions? That may be important for some of you. Now, they are downloadable on their website. Good Lord, this is like... Okay, there's enough layers of plastic holding everything in here. So we've now got blah, 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 blah. Sector 2, large silo platform. That's looking pretty good. I don't know if that's 2 separate bits of paper for the same thing. All looks good, though. What I might like is a little phone scanner, so I could scan on there and it would instantly take me to the guide. If anyone from TTCombat's watching that, that would probably save me a little bit of effort. I'm a consumer, I'm lazy as fuck. That would be nice to have, just to take me straight to the download. Now, time to actually look at some of this stuff. Now, this is the first time I've ever put my hands on MDF scenery, and some of you out there are probably thinking what I was thinking last week. MDF is probably a bit cheap, probably a bit naff looking, probably not for me. But I've seen enough paint jobs of it to think to myself, well, you know what, it actually looks amazing once it's painted. So I'm going to pop a couple bits out here and talk you through sort of how they look and what I can assess of actually what I'm holding in my hands here. So let's crack on. Right, so hopefully that's a little bit of a better view for you guys. Now I'm going to be using a couple of tips I got from a very good chap called the Terrain Tutor. The dude is absolutely amazing for building terrain, and he gave us a little tip of applying something the other side here, normally something fairly thin, and then pushing the scenery through, so that way you don't break any fragile bits if you're using walkways or anything like that. Now, I don't have anything to hand, and I can't be bothered going downstairs. These things seem like they're fairly loosely attached, so let's press them and see what happens. Now, that is looking like it's going to take a little bit of force. Ooh, a rather satisfying click there. There you go, it comes off. So obviously you're going to have to clean up the, I'll call it a mould line, but I have no idea what the technical term is. Now, the question you're probably wondering to yourself, and what I was thinking is, what's the texture like on these actual things? Because you can't really tell it from an actual picture. I want to know when I painted this, what's it going to look like? And I want to go for like a concrete effect. I would say to you now, if you just painted this, now I hear you have to spray it a fair bit for the actual paint to soak in. There are certain paints to don't use with MDF, so please do your homework first. To actually achieve the texture I want, I'm going to go ahead and look up a few guides as to how to apply a texture onto this, because I want it to look like a rusty metal. On its own, I think you'll get a fairly smooth finish by the time you add on some paint. That'll look absolutely fine for most of you if you're happy with that. Dry brushing it, though, I feel it's going to be a little bit difficult because it's just a flat texture. But now, in terms of Wobble, that is the next thing I was very, very curious about, because I was thinking to myself, MDF is probably fairly flimsy. I've used cardboard scenery before, and I was somewhat sceptical of this type of stuff. Now I'm holding it in my hands. There is a little bit of spring. There is a tiny little bit of spring. It's not even bending. It's just I know it's slightly more forgiving than plastic. But I mean, if I put that there, and I press down with my finger with a fair bit of force, that's pretty much the whole weight of my arm. It's not in any danger of snapping at all, and it bends, it gives a tiny bit. Heck, that's probably actually a good thing. If you drop something like this, it's probably less likely to cause any damage to it. So overall, structural integrity of this sort of stuff looks pretty good to me. I'm more than happy with it. Now, I have no idea how to assemble this stuff. I'm just going to get a few bits and see how they slot together, talk a little bit about the actual the joining of these products. So let's have a look. Righto, so we've got a nice looking platform here. Now, something else I was wondering that I just want to briefly talk through is when I was looking at these products before, you see these little lines here. I was wondering to myself, are they drawn on or are they just slightly etched? And if I had to guess a depth, I would probably say, just going to have a little look, they look to be probably about 1/4 or 1/2 millimeter. But if you're going over this with a dry brush or if you apply a wash to it, yes, it probably will sink in that crack. I think if you went too heavy with paint, it would probably sink in there a little bit. But if you guys are looking at some of this scenery thinking, I wonder if those lines are going to help me paint or if they're just drawn on, looks like you can actually take advantage of those when doing some painting. So let's now see what we can attach on here. That will probably slot on here. I feel like we're making progress. So there's a fairly tight fit, definitely going to need some glue there. And it looks like we probably get an array of choices as to how high we put the railings. Aha, each one of these corresponds with one of these railings. So looking up a guide would obviously make that a lot more easy. However, let's just see how the fittings feel. Now, PVA glue, I hear, is the thing to use, but I tell you what, now I've actually put that on, there's a tiny little bit of wobble there. Obviously, once you glue, that's just going to disappear, but it's a snug fit, and snug fits really do help when assembling scenery. Would this be enough to hold it there in place? Absolutely. You could definitely take these off and place them on, I think, without any issue. Heck, by the time you apply a little bit of paint, if you were to spray over this, I imagine you could probably just plop this on straight away afterwards, and even the barriers around the edge could probably be entirely modular. So that's something that might appeal to some of you guys. Now, one more thing I just want to go over with you guys, because I know some of you will be curious of this. Looking at scenery that's not built by Games Workshop obviously comes up with the question, is it going to look good with Games Workshop? Especially scale-wise, is this going to be the right size? So what I'm going to do is place a few models on here. I've attached one of these, I guess I'm not entirely what you call it, a girder of sorts. So we're going to place a couple models on just to show you what it actually looks like in terms of scale. Whoa, there we go. So in terms of getting Goliath through, you're probably going to just about squeeze two of them side by side. You're going to have no issues at all getting two Escher to engage onto one person if you want. But for me, this looks pretty good. There's enough to maneuver. I could probably fit 5 models on here without it feeling too cramped. Maybe not 5 Goliaths, but hey, that's fine. They're supposed to feel cramped. The guys are absolutely huge. In terms of the actual walkways, the long catwalks, they're going to be about the same diameter as this. So you're going to fit 2 Escher side by side. Not that the girls really are going to be holding hands very often, but the option will be to be there for people to move past each other. So if some of you are concerned about sort of the size, the width, etc., I think it's big enough, not too big. Very, very happy with that. Now, in terms of the actual walkways for both the Goliath and for the Escher, if we just remove Cindy over there, that's not a real name. We've not come up with a real name yet. And we just tilt up this way. Hopefully you guys can get an impression in terms of walkway sort of diameter and height. I think that's absolutely perfect. I think that's, the models look good in it. It looks like they're taking cover and shooting. In terms of aesthetics, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's just going to be sort of spot on by the time we've got a whole board bit built up. I was a little sort of concerned it would either be too low and not really look like cover, or it would be too high and the models wouldn't be looking over the edge and you'd be arguing with your friend as to whether or not it's soft cover, hard cover, if you have line of sight, etc., etc. But for me, clearly it is built for the 28mm, so obviously these guys had probably these types of miniatures in mind when they made the stuff, but I just want to say that it is it does seem to be appropriate for Necromunda in terms of scaling. One last question I asked to myself is looking at this stuff. Now, I wanted to have a look at some of these beams, and I'll tell you why. I was a little concerned that they might be particularly thin. Looking at the paper, looking at the actual pictures, it's kind of hard to tell. So I just wanted to have a look, because my worry is with this is that if this is really thin and I paint it, is it going to look like a cardboard structure holding up? Yeah, I mean, is it just going to look bad? Now, it is thick, and obviously they tell you on the website how thick it is, but it's quite hard to get a true what's the fucking word? A true appreciation for the actual sort of things here. But it's hard to get let's start again. It's hard to get an actual true appreciation of the dimensions until you've got it in your hand. And I have to say, that is thick enough that if I've got that holding up a building over here and I've painted that, I feel like that painted with the right paint would look like a metallic structure holding it up. It's obviously a little bit thinner here than it is thickness wide. I mean, I would probably be very, very happy punching 2 of these together. Obviously that's not going to work with the actual model, but thickness wise, maybe that would look quite nice. But this is more than satisfactory. Again, give wise, obviously we've got a longer piece here now, which is missing a lot of its sort of internal wood, a little bit more give, but that's going to be standing up like so with several other structures supporting it. If I place down with my finger there, there's very little wobble and give. More than happy with this. So guys, in terms of the actual product, I have to say I'm excited to put it together. I really, really want to, and I'm going to, but I'm going to be doing it alongside a painting guide. So you guys are going to have to just do a little bit of footage as to what the final product looks like. But all I can say for the actual quality of what I've got in terms of the cuts, there don't seem to be any issues at all with moulding or whatnot. I don't think there would be, because it's done by a laser. So if anything did go wrong with that, it's that's a mechanical error, not a human. But the product is consistent with the package. It looks exactly like it does. Somewhat darker in the flesh than the actual pictures. Not that really matters, but if you're actually thinking, oh heck, I just want to play on it with the colour it is, slightly darker than the images I've seen, although I do have some somewhat moody lighting in here. But aside from that, I have to say, ordering from them has been a very painless experience. It's been very affordable thus far. Nothing but easygoing. Arrived pretty soon afterwards. they did ask me for a completely critical review, and I have to say, in terms of looking at the product, all I can say is give me some instructions, more easily accessible. Yes, I know I ordered it from the website and I could have just downloaded the thing while I'm there, but people don't think that much in life. So a way, or even just a little reminder on here that if you would like a guide, please see our website. Maybe it does say that in the small print, but put it in bigger print, please. Aside from that, though, I have to say, ordering's been a pleasure. It's well packaged. There's not much more to say, really. Just looking forward to putting it together, giving it a decent paint job, and seeing if we can make this look like a really mechanical complex. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's been of some use in just looking at what this stuff is, what you get with the package. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of wood to work through here. This was 40 quid, okay? And this is the final product that you're going to get from it. Again, I'll bring up a picture on screen and show you the guy building it, because they've done, thankfully done that for us already, but very, very happy with it. I think if you just look at the actual potential of painting this, it could be a real beauty. I'm hoping it will be. Guide will be coming at you soon. Guys, let me know if there's anything else you'd like me to review. I'll try and pick it up if I can, or contact the developers, and I'll speak to you next time. Take care, guys. All the best.
I can't decide because I'm lying around dead in corners.